every day, every morning, first thing, 6 o'clock, around about 2 o'clock, and around about 8 or 9 o'clock, someone in a store would go round with a pad and a pen and would note down any gaps. They would also note down any product that had less than 50% of its facings. So if tins of beans were 2 wide, 6 deep, if there was less than 50%, they would make a note of that. They would then go to their back office and they would say, okay, we've only got 6 tins of beans left, 3 tins of beans left on the shelf. Have we got any beans in stock? And if they have, then fine. If they haven't, then that would go onto the order form. And they were faxed through 3 times a day to a central fax number in Manchester. They were taken off a machine and they were then taken by bits of paper by a team, and they were entered into spreadsheets into a PC. That was then sent through to the relevant LDC, and the LDC took that as their demand that store X needed another 24 tins of baked beans. That time alone took 12 to 14 hours.
Wow.
The depot then prepared the orders, loaded the trucks, sent them out and delivered. So you were immediately into the day after the day that the order was actually triggered, but the trigger of the order came through the day before that. So there's your 48 hours. The 2B, the solution that was delivered, simply was linked to the EPOS. It was linked to seasonality profiles. It was linked to exceptional profiles. So that might be public holiday, it might be bonfire night, it might be Christmas, etc. It might be a local concert that's happening in Glastonbury, etc. And all of that was essentially put into a single system that was called GSM. And on a daily, on a real-time basis, it wasn't real-time, it was every hour, if I'm honest. So on a real-time batch process, store inventory through the till was transmitted to GSM. GSM already knew what the opening balances were for the store inventory, maths, and said, right, at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, every single day, it then transmitted its order through EDI to the WMS in the LDC. Those orders were prepared from about 6 o'clock in the evening onwards, and that was delivered between anything around between 5 and 10 o'clock the next morning. So by simply taking out what was probably a staggeringly manual process of faxing through order forms 3 times a day that didn't really get reconciled until late on a night, that didn't get to the depot until sometime the next day, which didn't get processed into outbound demand until later that day, which didn't then hit the store until the following day, you immediately stripped out 24 hours of that replenishment profile. Now, to a retailer, especially a food retailer, that makes the difference between having a gap on a shelf of 2 days to, at worst, 1 day. So if you had a rush on baked beans because Nigella had said, here's a new baked bean menu, everybody, at 6 o'clock on a Thursday night, and everyone rushed out on Friday to buy baked beans, there's not much you can do about that. But at least they had baked beans on Saturday. At best, in the old world, they wouldn't have had baked beans until Sunday, probably Monday, using that analogy, because of no Sunday deliveries to certain stores. And so all of a sudden, you just increased your ability to sell baked beans on Friday and not Saturday. So, that's all about revenue. And gaps are a retailer's biggest enemy. If you haven't got it, you can't sell it. If you've got no Heinz baked beans, but you have got cooperative owned brand, yes, 50% of the brand loyal people might go and choose Co-op's beans. The other 50% will go go to Sainsbury's and buy their Heinz baked beans if they've got any. So gaps are the biggest enemy. The ability to identify lowering stock, because what the stores didn't have was centralized visibility of their own inventory. It was all done by walking around the store and saying, oh, we've only got 3 tins of baked beans left, we'd better replenish if we've got some in the back. They now knew they could just go and look at all of the trigger levels where, you know, the optimal level was 6 tins of beans, the capacity of the shelf was 12 tins of beans, and as soon as it got to 5, it triggered off an alert with the staff in the store to say, you need to get some beans out on the shelf. And they would go out replenishing 3, 4, 5 times a day. So it wasn't difficult to go from 48 to 24 in principle, but it did take 3 years to deliver the transformation program across, in the end, 3,750 stores across the UK.